there is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic. It lives to kill. A mindless eating machine. It will attack and devour anything. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws.
Welcome, everybody, to another installment of Stoli Doli Scaries.
My name is John Ritchie Jr.
My name is Corinne Hayes.
And today we're watching Dun 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 Jaws. You'll never go in the water again. For anyone who doesn't know us, we are two cousins living in two different states on two different coasts who love to watch horror movies and who love to drink. Or drink while watching horror movies. Either way, we are two fans of the genre, and in our family, the Stoli Doli is the highlight of our annual Christmas Eve tradition. It's a time to drink with family, talk some shit, and enjoy conversations. So grab a glass and buckle up.
With every movie we do, we're going to have a themed drink that will intro at the beginning. Today's drink is going to be the Amity Island Iced Tea, which is a play off of a Long Island iced tea, deadly and strong. We will detail all of the ingredients and how to make it on our Insta page, so please check that out. So this film hit theaters on June 20th, 1975, ready to terrorize all teens and ruin their lives for them to never step in the water again.
Didn't this actually ruined your mom's life?
Oh, completely. Completely ruined her. I don't even think she fully goes in a pool after she saw this movie. So it has a lot of power. Job well done.
Seeing this movie again put me right back into my little young kid self. I pinpointed moments where I could hear my mom speaking about the film. Like, she had a way of sort of like narrating films for me and like making me feel a certain way based off of what she had to say or what she was feeling about the film and all of her experience with it. So there's definitely moments in there that we're going to get into that were maybe more terrifying because she made it that way for me.
Oh, well, sure. Moms have a way of doing that. All right. You want to get into it? The first scene-ola? Okay.
Yes, for sure. I love this first scene.
It's the best. I agree. So it opens up, bonfire on the beach. These two little cuties are making eyes at each other. The guy comes over to, flirt with the girl, and she gets up and she runs away.
Immediately.
Like, I was trying to figure out if there's any kind of conversation. I think there's like a tiny bit of like, hello. And she gets up and runs away.
Literally, as we're scanning the beach, first of all, I want to be at this party. I want to be at a campfire on the beach. Yeah. Everybody's smoking cigs. Everybody's drinking out of cans, all these beers. Mm-hmm. And we get this like, bummer surfer-esque dude. And he makes eyes at this little cutie and goes over to her, and almost immediately she runs off. So it's like, we're in the 70s. That's how it feels.
It feels that way. And I do give this little guy a lot of credit because he gets up and follows her. He runs after her and she's like full speed ahead. It's not like a walk away. It is a full speed runaway. And he asks her name, Chrissy. And she starts taking off her clothes. And he's like, where are we going? And she's swimming. Like, which is, I feel like, a huge contrast because she seemed like a shy little girl at that bonfire. She was just sitting by herself, making moony eyes at him. And all of a sudden she's throwing off her clothes going skinny dipping. So she's a bit of a mystery. She's a wild card. And it's here when you realize this guy's pretty drunk because he's having a hard time getting his clothes off, trying to follow her in. So she doesn't stop for him. She rolls in, she takes off her clothes, she gets in that water, and he kind of tries to take off his shoe. He kind of passes out on the beach, is like mumbling drunk words. And so she is just out in the water having herself. a nice little time, a nice little swim when we get that wonderful underwater shot of her swimming, and it's a POV of the shark coming up towards her, and we get that beautiful swell of the music, and all of a sudden she's pulled under and she panics and she does that you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I hate that. It's really
well, first of all, and this is so good on so many different levels, but the sheer like terror of like, first of all, I'm admitting right now my biggest fear is dark water. Dark ocean water. Like, if I don't know what is under me, and then to be in this moment fully naked and get pulled underwater by something, I would lose my marbles.
Yeah.
They'd be all over the floor.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what to say about it. The acting in this scene is just like, to be pulled under like 3 different times, and like the panic, the like, I need to catch my breath. I'm literally treading water and something's tugging at my, like, trying to bite me, whatever. I'm right with her.
She does the scene really well. It's very believable. She's thrashing all through the water. He's dragging her from one side to the other. And this is another thing. She's screaming this whole time. Mm-hmm. How drunk was this man that he didn't hear this woman screaming bloody murder to just be fully passed out on the beach? Hats off.
He probably thinks she a freak because, and when I say that, I mean like a freak in the sheets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's ready to just go off skinny dipping, and he probably hears her in the water just like, yeah, this girl's a wild one, but I am too drunk.
That's true. Maybe he heard it, but he probably... it was like blood curdling. I don't know how he could have mistaken it, but you're right. He doesn't know this lady. She's a full stranger. So perhaps, regardless, poor Chrissy eventually gets pulled under, and it's just silence. After this like manic panic, it's just full silence, full calm water, and sadness. Chrissy is no longer with us. I did read that this was a really violent scene to film. They put cables on her underneath water, and there were 2 people standing on opposite ends, just like pulling her and not telling her when they were going to do it. So those reactions were really like authentic. She really gave her all for this topless swimmer moment that she had. So hats off.
I also heard she was like a stunt woman. Like she wasn't really an actor.
Well, that makes a lot more sense because it was a very physical scene. And I also read to get that like gurgling, like the sound of her gurgling the water, they put her in front of a microphone and they had her tip back her head and they like poured water over her so they would get an authentic gurgling sound, which to that I say, special, was that needed?
I say brava. I say, you know what that is? Cinema. That's just in a nutshell.
So then it cuts to Chief Brody's house. We get to meet Chief Brody. He's just waking up in his home. He's talking to his wife, Ellen. He's just kind of farting around. And he gets a call that a woman's gone missing because the boy that she was with reported her, which is interesting. How would he really know? He passed out on the beach. What's to say that, that she just went home and she left him there on the beach. So very forward thinking of him to think to do that. But regardless, he reports her missing, or not missing, but he mentions the whole situation, that he doesn't know what happened to her, if she drowned or why he couldn't find her again. So Chief Brody goes out to the beach where they were that night, and he's walking with the boy, and he's just chatting to him about the situation. And then all of a sudden, his backup guy, his fellow cop, what would they be, cops?
Partner.
He starts blowing his whistle violently, and he like kind of falls down. He's clearly distressed and sweating. And they come running over, and he has discovered the body parts of the young woman who was killed by the shark last night. And you just see like her little hand and her beautifully painted
crabs all everywhere.
Yeah, dark, very dark. And also, I thought that was kind of surprising too, because I just would have thought the shark would have gobbled her all the way up. I wouldn't have thought he'd like leave an arm and like a leg. I found that to be interesting. I think
Yeah.
that's why I think I would have thought maybe it would have been a boat or something like that. Something that like mangled the body. Also interesting that that kid is never looked at as a suspect. Like, don't you think? He was the last one to see her. And even though, I mean, he would have had to do some messed up things to her to create such a mangled body. I was just like, you know what? If that happened today, he would have immediately pointed the finger at
Yeah.
that kid.
I know, and they try to chalk it up to like a propeller accident at some point, and like things bitten out of her. I mean, I don't know how much we're looking at this kid, but you're right. They do never really look at that, and that's just like tells us that we are solely focused on the fact that this is a shark movie.
Right.
And I think things that I even read about Steven Spielberg in like how he wanted to create this film. A lot of people had a lot of different like subplots that they wanted to do, and he was just like, no, the focus has to be on the shark. So,
Yeah.
even as a viewer, I'm thinking like I'm not even thinking about this kid other which way besides the fact that this girl tore up. She tore up.
True. And I don't think I ever thought that ever. It was only until I watched it this last time and I was really trying to think of like all the, notice all the things that I never really noticed. And I was like, that guy just, he gets off scot-free. He could have gobbled her up. 70s were a wild time. We had a lot of serial killers. It ain't out of, left field, but
That's true. What I do like setting up this like whole scene with the beach and finding the body is that we get to know where we are, like as an audience. We're in, how do you say it? Amityville?
Amity Island?
Amity, which is like a beach town.
Quaint
like,
little beach village, yeah.
Outside of New York.
No, it was filmed in Martha's Vineyard. And I think they had been considering Nantucket, but I think there were storms or something. So they ended up in Martha's Island or Martha's Vineyard. So it's very similar to a town like that. Like it's very cute and quaint, like little cottage boutiques and just super cutesy town that nothing bad would ever happen in. And I don't think I noticed it until this last time I watched it, but there's only two cops. It's just Chief Brody and his little buddy. Like there's no backup.
There's no crime happening on this island. They've been secure and safe for like 25 years. Right. He mentions at some point. So this is like headlines.
Shocking. Absolutely. So next scene, Chief Brody goes to his office and he's really looking for not disturbed, but this is a shocking thing. As you said, this never happens, and so you can tell he's affected by this. And he goes into his office and he's typing up the
it's like something from the medical examiner who indicates that she died from a shark attack.
Right. Because it's when he's doing this that he gets the call from the medical examiner and he says shark attack. So he decides that he's going to shut down the beaches until they figure out the situation. Him and his partner go get things to make the signs that beaches closed, like no swimming. And while they're going to get these supplies, they find out that there's I think it's a Boy Scout troop that's doing like their annual swim in the middle of the ocean. And so Chief Brody goes to try to get them out of the water because it doesn't want anyone swimming. And while he's on his way there, we see good old Mayor and his beautiful blue anchor suit, and he looks he looks very concerned that they're closing down these beaches. So he goes to go after Chief Brody, and he's got the medical examiner with him, and I think like a newspaper
reporter
with him. I don't know why he's there. He doesn't have anything to do with this, but he's there regardless. And so they catch up with Chief Brody. He's on a ferry. He gets on a ferry to go catch the boys. So they're all on this ferry together. And I feel like the mayor kind of comes at him like mafia style, like, what, you're closing down the beaches on your own authority? And she's like, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm the chief. Like, I don't know whose authority I need. And they're like, oh, no, technically you need this. And we depend on these summer months for our very lives. And you just, I don't think you understand the gut reaction people have to the word shark. And once you put this out there, we're never going to come back from it. And people are going to be on welfare. So just think about what you're doing, man. And then the medical examiner is kind of like, well, it could have been a boat. It could have been a propeller. Everyone's changing their stories because they realize the gravity of the situation if they put those signs up.
I think in this moment too, which I didn't even realize until we were talking about it, but like the political aspect of it to like kind of just sweep things under the rug and be like, well, let's, this is the actual event, but this is kind of what, we're going to
Right.
paint it as, which is
Right.
just like, whoa.
It's very accurate. It's very
They can
accurate.
really control anything.
No. And this mayor is such a piece of work. I saw a t-shirt recently and it said, the mayor in Jaws is still the mayor in Jaws 2. Your local elections are so important or something like that. And it's like, it's so true. The power this little blue anchor suit man has and the havoc he wreaks with his decisions. And so, indeed, it's all very political. So Chief Brody reluctantly accepts their conclusion, and the medical examiner says he's going to professionally, change it to boat and to just wipe their hands of it. Nobody worry about it. And the next scene is this full packed beach. Chief Brody's on the sand and he is looking not comfortable. He is looking real panicked. He's watching everything. His eyes are going everywhere. He's just nervous. His wife's there. She's talking to maybe the most tan woman I've ever seen in my life. This old man comes up to him, very uncomfortable. We heard about you, Chief Brody. Go in the water. And he's saggy and gross. There's just so many things happening. There's a boy playing with his dog, and they keep cutting back to it. There's just a lot of, they're cutting to people playing in the water. There's just a lot of shit happening in this scene, and it's purposeful.
And too, that we as an audience are also seeing the scanning that Chief Brody is doing. We're also on edge too, because we literally just saw this person get pulled under. So nobody else knows what we know, right? Yeah. Brody knows it. So we are essentially his pair of eyes too. So we're scanning the beach too. We're like, oh my God, this dog in the water over here. This woman in her cap just floating around. This little young kid going off in a raft. This person over here. We're literally like, I'm waiting for shit to happen.
Right.
So we're seeing that play out in his demeanor, really.
Yeah, absolutely. The kid that's playing with his dog, he's throwing a stick in the water and the dog is catching it and pipping, and he's coming back and he's going forth. And then all of a sudden you see him looking for his dog and he can't find him and he's pipping. And then you just see the stick floating in the water.
Something's not right.
Mm-mm. And then little Alex Kittner is playing on his little raft. And all of a sudden we get the POV again of the shark coming up and he just gobbles him right up. And probably the goriest scene in the movie. It is just like poosh, blood. The float goes up in the air. Like, it is gruesome.
I think that it's crazy compared to the first scene that we saw, where like essentially, you're just looking at the surface of the water. You see some blood start flowing everywhere, and like, this is a little kid.
I mean, and it happens so quick. It's like that, to the point where people in the beach are like, did you see that? What the fuck was that? Did you see that? And then the people surrounding everyone starts just panicking. Chief Brody gets everybody out of the water, and everybody's rushing in to get their kids, and everybody comes out. And then you see Alex Kittner's mom searching the beach for him. And, then you get that very sad image of his little float, his deflated float, coming up on the shore, like all, bloodied, and very sad. I have a lot to say about that mother, though. I have a lot of thoughts about that whole thing and what happens later on. When everybody else rushed into the water, this lady was reading her book like, what? Rush into the water, like follow everybody else's lead. She had a very delayed reaction time, and not to put the blame on her, but when the scene later happens, I have a lot of thoughts about that because of her reaction in this moment, but still very sad. So this is where we lead into all of the local shop owners and the hotel owners and the mayor and everybody's getting together to figure out, what are we going to do about this? Are they going to close down the beaches? Are we going to put a bounty for someone to catch the shark? Like, they're going to come together to try to figure out a solution. And right away they ask if the beaches are going to close down. And Chief Brody's like, well, yeah, we just had a fucking kid die in front of 1,000 people. Of course we're going to do that. Everybody freaks out, and then the mayor's like, oh, only 24 hours. And they're still not happy. 24 hours is like 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what, I get it. They're right. These 3 months are like their livelihood for the entire year. So they depend on it. Understandable. Also a little insensitive. They seem to be very, very unconcerned about what has just gone down. But again, trying to be understanding of their situations. And it's during this that we get to meet Quint, who's in the back next to that beautiful chalk drawing of the shark. And he gives a very dramatic speech. I'll capture it for 3, but I'll catch him and kill him for 10,000.
Love it. Honestly, this is a moment right now in the film. We get set off by nails screeching on a chalkboard, and it's Mr. Robert Shaw. I am elated when I see him. I think that this is clearly, even the way in which he talks, which you gave a beautiful rendition, quote, he is a seaman. He is on the seas every day. He's catching sharks. He's catching fish. He gives me like kind of pirate vibes, and like just a well-rounded, like, I catch everything, I kill everything, and I'll catch that bird. It's not going to be easy. Like, who the fuck is this? And also, why are you so hot? And why are you just like, I feel like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Whenever I see him. So his little speech to the town is just like, yes, I can kill this big old fish. And kind of just like does a mic drop moment and walks out.
Yeah, it always makes me chuckle. Everyone's kind of reactions are kind of just like you said, who is this? Like, who is this guy? Who invited him? How did he? This is not
exactly. That's how it feels.
Yeah. Regardless, he made his presence known. So Chief Brody has called the Oceanography Institute for an expert to come down and help them with the situation, because it is just out of their hands, out of their jurisdiction. They just don't know how to handle the situation. So this is when we get to meet Matt Hooper, which is my favorite. Richard Dreyfuss comes and meets him, and super cutie. He was like one of my first crushes. I always thought this guy was just adorable and just very assured of himself and really smart and quick-witted. Very much enjoy his presence. So he meets Hooper, and Hooper says that, I think the first thing that we should do is look at the remains of the first victim. So they go into the exam room. First of all, this room just looks like about the grossest room to ever examine the body. It's like dirt. Like, what Chief Brody goes to smoke a cigarette. Like, it is a very haphazard, not what I would think of as a autopsy room. But they get in there and they pull the remains of this poor girl out of like a fridge, out of like a bin in a fridge. And as soon as he like opens it up, he takes like a deep breath in, and you can tell he's like very disturbed, very disgruntled by this. And he's speaking into his little into his little recorder, like, okay, female victim, portion of torso, He goes through his little montage of the parts remaining, and he rips off his thingies and he says, Propeller didn't do this. Jack the Ripper didn't do this. Like, this was a shark. It's like a you drop the mic moment. Like, and that stupid little medical examiner in the back is like,
While all this is happening too, all the townspeople, all these like macho men are out in their little boats trying to catch it. They're like throwing bombs in the water. They're like throwing all sorts of blood in the sea trying to catch this fish.
I want to get that. I think it was like $3,000 or something. Like the bounty was set at $3,000. So everybody's joking about it. All these fat men getting in their little boats, like tugboats, trying to catch this great white. So I guess they did something right. These local men in their little tugboat are able to catch and kill a tiger shark. And everybody's fucking jazzed. They think we got it. Problem solved. They're taking newspaper shots of it.
Let's start the 4th of July celebrations. We got it. It's done. Take a picture for the paper. Let's go.
Problem solved. The mayor comes. He's jazzed. Everybody's all excited. And right away, Hooper comes in He's measuring the width of the jaws, and he says, I don't know. Right away, he looks very skeptical, and he comes over to Chief Brody, and he kind of poops on his parade and says, "Look, like, I'm not saying it's not the shark. Maybe it is the shark. It probably is the shark. But the fact is, the bite radius on that shark is different than the victim that I just looked at." And right away, Brody's like, "Oh, uh-oh." He's like, "Well, I know a way we can solve this. Let's cut it open. The digestive system of a shark is very slow. That little boy's still going to be in there. Let's cut her open." And right away, the mayor, which he has selfish reasons, but to that extent, he's kind of right. He's like, "We're not going to do that. We're not going to cut this shark open and have that little Kittner boy spill out on the dock around all these people. We're not doing it."
Honestly, when he said it, I was like, that would be terrifying.
It would be awful. And it was very weird. I get where he's coming from later on. Later on, in a private time, I get that. But in the moment, and the timing is impeccable, because right as they're having this discussion, Mrs. Kittner gets out of her car. She's clearly just come from her little boy's funeral, and she's got her little black veil on, and she comes up to Chief Brody and she asks him if he's Chief Brody. And he says yes. And she fucking slaps the hell out of him and says, "I heard that you knew that there was a shark attack. You knew that a woman had just been killed, and you let all these people go swimming. And you knew all those things. And still my boy is dead." And she does give a killer performance. Absolutely. Totally puts the blame on him. I don't think it's fair. I think she's got a little bit of blood on her hands too. Nobody is innocent here, but she is placing all the blameola on Chief Brody, and he is internalizing that very deeply. But hell of a performance by this lady. She really gives it. These small roles, they really give it 100%.
Honestly, it's the ones we sleep on, but I could feel the anguish. I could feel the loss of a child, even though I've never had one.
Yeah.
And I thought that she was very subdued in her performance, but it was pivotal. It was crucial. It was piercing.
Right.
I don't know how else to explain it, but she got the point across for sure.
And I will say, I try to take with a little, she was obviously deep in her grieving, and she just found this information out. And I think when you're in that state of mind, you need somebody, not to blame, but you need a reason. And if he had closed down the beaches, or if maybe they had made it known, at the very least, so that people could swim at their own risk, things would be different. But, Chief Brody was bullied by that damn anchor suit mayor. He would have never made that decision on his own. He should have told her. I don't think it would have been the moment. So I guess it's good he didn't. But still, very gut-wrenching, sad little moment for all people involved.
It's a hard position, that chief of police.
So this has just happened, and Chief Brody is clearly he's bothered. He's internalizing this. So we cut to the next scene, which is him in his house. He's having dinner, and you can tell he's feeling pretty low. And little Richard Dreyfuss comes back into play. He comes over with some bottles of wine, a nice little suit, clearly with ulterior motives to try to convince him to go down and cut down that shark. He's chatting with Ellen Brody, Chief Brody's wife. And I always felt like there was a little flirtation there. And maybe it's just me. I felt like there was a vibe going between them. And I found out that in the book Jaws is very different. And in the book, Hooper and Ellen have an affair. I had no idea.
Well, I think that's why Spielberg wanted to rewrite it so many times, because everybody was focused on the subplots. Subplot of them having an affair, of the mayor being a mafia tie.
Yeah, I read that too. That's crazy. Yeah.
I think it's great that we get to see, we could see that of their character. I feel like their characters play it very well. That even in the moment, there was a moment where they're talking, where she's just "You want to have a drink and fool around?" I want to be in that moment. Like, I want to have a drink of water. Yes, like I'm with my husband, whatever. But there's
Yeah.
little snippets of like their character that you can see them like playing differently. Like, obviously, if we had a whole subplot of just her, it would be amazing.
Yeah.
But you do see that in their characters, like the ways in which they can be certain things.
Yeah. So anyway, so he comes over and he talks to Chief Brody about the territoriality. Basically, that means when a shark comes across a territory where there's a lot of good feeding, that they're going to keep coming back. And so this shark is going to keep coming back if we don't kill him, basically. Fun fact, and I hope this makes my mom feel better, is that I looked up an article on NPR to see if this was like a real thing, and it's totally not. Because like I said, sharks do not like human people. We're not their number one choice of food. Even if they found a territory with a ton of human people, they wouldn't keep coming back, which makes sense because when you hear about shark attacks, you don't hear about a situation like this in Jaws where they keep coming back, like the shark is terrorizing these beaches. It's like a shark attack happened, doesn't happen again for, 50 years. It's like a very rare occurrence. But not for this movie. For the movie purposes, it is a real thing, and we got to stop this bad boy before it kills another kid. So they're having their wine, and they're just...
I love when he gets the bottle of wine and just pours himself an entire glass up to the rim. He's clearly had a tough day, and he's like, what's this fucker about to sell me? Like, I'm getting wasted. And we also hear Ellen reinforces the idea that Brody hates boats and he hates the water. And she says, or maybe he says it's a childhood thing. Like he's alluding to a drowning that must have happened in his family or something.
Right. Yeah, Hooper's a little bit rude too, because this is also when he brings the wine, very nice, but when he sits down, he's like, "Is anybody eating this?" And it's like a full plate of food. Like the fuck?
He's just making himself at home. He's like, "We got things to discuss. What's on the menu tonight?"
So they're talking about it, and he convinces Brody to go down and cut down. Well, he doesn't really. He keeps talking about it, and finally, Brody's like, "What do you say? We finish this wine." We go down and we cut open that shark. So that's what they do.
Everybody's like, yes, let's find out.
So they go to the little barn area and where the tiger shark is hanging, and they cut it open. And lo and behold, there are no body parts. There's no Alex Kittner. It's not the shark they were looking for. Which is very sad, because that just means that tiger shark just died for no damn reason. These old fat tugboat men killed it for no reason. So that's a little upsetting, but what are you going to do? So then they decide, they know the mayor is not going to accept this. Like, he has taken this shark as his scapegoat and he's not going to accept anything they have to say. So they're like, why don't we go out into the water and find proof of this tonight, this moment?
I think the idea too is that, he's a marine biologist, or he's got equipment that he can use to find a shark, and they need more evidence to give to the fucking mayor. As if you need more. It's not going to be just a license plate in this shark's belly that's going to do it. So to that, I understand the reasons why they're going out, and also maybe a little bit of the frustration that this needs to happen immediately because there's a fucking shark still out there.
Right. Yeah. It ends up working out. They get in this boat at night, and they're kind of just, trumping around the waters, and they come across this half sunken sea vessel, this half sunken boat. And I think Brody recognizes it, and he says it's Ben Gardner's boat.
This town is everyone knows everyone.
Right. They come across this boat, and Hooper decides at night, when there have been shark attacks, to get in his little scuba gear and go and just check it out. And
this is a very intense moment. Brody's like, "What the fuck you mean you're going in the water?" And he's like, "It'll only be 2 minutes, whatever." But I think he's really relying on his equipment to like, the sonar around. He's like, nothing's around here. So I think he felt very safe in that moment. He's like, I got to check out this boat. We have to see if this is like, could this be evidence, what have you.
Yeah. So he goes down into the water, and there's like a kind of a hole in the bottom of the boat that he's kind of checking out, and he notices that there is a big old tooth in it of a great white. So he pulls it out and he's looking at it like, okay, this is something. And then he goes to look back in the hole and a head pops out, which is like the first big jump scare in the movie. Ah! Like the eyeballs kind of popped out. It's very jarring, and he is startled. He drops the tooth, which is like their one little piece of evidence. I think it's the next scene that it cuts to them trying to talk to the mayor, trying to convince him that shit is not okay. The shark that was caught is not the shark, and, big trouble.
We found a tooth, which basically says this is a great white shark.
Right. Because at this point, talking to the mayor is like talking to a brick wall, and he just can't see anything other than the fact that this would just destroy this town if they close the beaches. And so they're desperately trying to convince him otherwise. And again, this mayor is just not to be reasoned with. He's just a real piece of shit, real piece of work.
He says, well, you don't have a tooth. He said, you got no evidence, basically. Yeah, this guy's boat may have been whatever. Yeah, his head is floating. But you got no proof that a shark did this. And then he continues to say, this is going to be one of the best summers we've ever had. We see swarms of people coming to the beaches. News reports already said that they caught it. Everybody's doing their thing. They're getting their bathing suits on and going to the beach. The mayor, at this point, is walking around on the beach, looking at everybody, and the water is clear. Nobody's getting in. And he goes up to one of his friends. He's in this, like, Easter egg pinstripe suit. And he says, what's going on? The guy's like, oh, I'm just putting, my sunblock on. And I'm waiting for it to... And he says, get in the water. So we got to get everybody in there so that everybody feels good and everybody wants to swim. So this older couple goes in. Everybody's having a good time, reluctantly. And Brody is scanning the beach along with the mayor and comes upon his son, Michael, who's going out on a boat with his friends. And he pulls him aside and just says, like, do you think we can just go to the pond for today? Like, I don't want you in this section. He's trying to keep it down low. He's like, just go hang out in the pond. And it's a bummer for the kid, but he does it anyway. Mayor is seen telling the news reporters that everybody's having a wonderful time. Everyone's in the water. It's going to be the best summer ever. Then people start to see a fin, and they start freaking out, like legitimately freaking out.
A kind of an unbelievable scene. It is like the way it's shot, like old people falling in the water, like half drowning, and like old people, like adults, like stampeding over children. It is like pure pandemonium in here.
Pure chaos. You got a mother holding the child. You got like the sort of like pan out of the two singular people, like noticing it for the first time and like booking it through the water. There's splashing everywhere. It is chaos. So what happens is everybody starts rushing out of the water, and people are getting scared. People are getting nervous. And then we see a fin, the fin, later turns out to be two kids who were just swimming along the water's edge with a cardboard fin or something that they created.
That was like a professional fucking fin. I'm like, are you kidding? Like I had so many questions. It's about like, how old could those kids have been? Who raised them for such an evil prank? I mean, somebody died. A little kid was eaten. Like, that was way below the belt, kids. And also, where did they get the money for a professional fake shark fin? It's pretty egregious.
I will say that it was really creative, however terrifying to everyone around, considering, read the room. Everyone's fucking panicked.
Yeah.
And So I think as an audience too, like you kind of breathe a little bit. You're like, oh my God, okay. Just
Yeah.
two kids. They come up and they got like guns pointed at them, because everybody's on edge. So they pull them up really quickly. It's a fucking messed up prank. And then cut to a girl on the pond beach who actually sees a fin going, like coming up out of the water and going back down. And she panics and she starts yelling shark. And she says, the shark, it's going into the pond.
And so very sad for her that she's like the boy that cried wolf, because now everyone's had to deal with this bullshit from these damn kids. And of course nobody's going to believe her, or they don't got time for it. Like, it's just, and even Chief Brody's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he doesn't even want to deal with it. I don't know if he even believes it. So this poor little girl, very bad timing.
I think it is really good to point out that during the chaotic scene, we didn't hear any hint of the music, which is what we're falling on. And now we're like, oh shit, the music's coming on. The shark's going in the pond. We remember that Brody told his son to go in the pond, and now we're on edge. Brody loses his mind, books it. You see this wonderful shot of him just like scaling the rocks along the water's edge, and he's booking it to go save Michael. And then we get to see this creeper-looking guy in a little red mini boat just trying to tell Michael and his friends like how to tie up the sail to make it go faster. And you see the fin coming up towards this guy's boat in the background, which is just some shit's about to pop off. So all of a sudden, creeper guy gets his boat flipped over by the shark. It eventually catches up to him and tips over his boat. And this is the first scene where we really like see the full sort of like details of the shark just below the water's edge. And this guy is trying to get up on his boat, and the shark just like slowly pulls him and grabs him into the water. We see a severed leg fall to the bottom of the ocean, which is amazing. And then we see eventually the shark just like grab a hold of his arm and pull him under. Blood everywhere in the water. It's classic scene. And also, if you imagine being one of those kids, like honestly terrifying.
I do think it is incredible that that's the first time that we actually fully see Jaws, and speaks so much to how talented Spielberg is, because I don't think I realized that until I was doing research and I read it, and I was like, no way. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh, we don't. Everything is POV, or you just see the reaction of the shark attacking whoever he's attacking. But like, even when Alex Kittner gets killed, we don't see him at all, which is miraculous. And it wasn't even purposeful. It's because Bruce had so many malfunctions and he was so difficult to work with that they had to get creative. And it's super brilliant that they were able to figure out how to make it work without you even seeing the shark.
Yeah. What you can do with cinema. That's the buzzword of the night. Just pure fear, anxiety, and the music helps. So after Homeboy gets pulled under and a blood pool comes up from his bubbles, the shark swims right. The shark swims right past Michael, and we see a nice little shot of him like coming right up against him, and pretty much just goes into shock. And Brody at this point and his friends are pulling him out of the water onto the sand, and they're trying to cover him up and protect him. Everybody's losing their mind.
Ellen comes up, he's dead! He's dead! I was like, what? He just saw a shark. There's no ailments on his body at all. There's no cuts. There's no nothing. That was a really weird reaction on her part, but I'm not in Ellen's shoes, so I don't know. But that seemed like a lot.
Just like his lips are blue, he's dead. Okay, so now we get to the hospital because they bring Michael there and they're trying to make sure everything's okay. All the kid wants is cars and coffee. Verbatim, that is what he said. I honestly sign me up for that. Brody tells Ellen to take the smaller child back home. And I think this is a good point too, because she says back to New York. And he said, no, like home here, like where we're on vacation, pretty much.
Yeah. Like she's clearly fed up, and I get where she's coming from, but I'm like, lady, you let your kids go swimming on that beach today. Like you know what I mean? Like it was a very weird moment to me for her to make that kind of statement, because she could have just had her kid not go out on the water multiple times. And so I was like, what? Like, why did you even allow it if you were so fed up? But I'm sure this was the breaking point, because she seemed to be not the voice of reason, but remember there's that scene where the kids are in the boat and Brody's like, get out of the boat. And she's like, they're not in the water. They're on a boat. Oh, you're just not going to, like, she's trying to be like, they're just kids and it's okay. And she's been the level-headed one. And so for her to be like, let's get the fuck out of here was interesting to me. That was a quick, which again, your kid almost gets eaten by a shark. Maybe that is the tipping point. But I just thought that was really interesting that she had said it in a way that was like, I've been wanting to get out of here since the get-go. And really, she's been the most easygoing about the whole situation. So
it also seems like their relationship is pretty strong. So it sounds like, you know, he would tell her like all the pertinent information that's happening. So at this point, this is a really good moment too, because in the hospital, the mayor sees Brody and he's in distress now, finally. And he's starting to realize and understand the severity of the situation. And he says, he comes up to him, and Brody is really just trying to get him to sign off on paperwork to hire Quinn to finally kill this fucking shark. And he goes up to him and says, like, essentially, I'm sorry. And he says, my kids were on that beach too. And then he takes a puff of his cigarette in the hospital and signs off on Quinn.
Can you even imagine the level of embarrassment that dude has to be feeling? He did that really lame interview on the beach. The beaches are packed. It's wonderful. Like, he must have been mortified when that man was killed. Like, how embarrassed could you be? I would crawl into the floor. I would hang up my anchor suit forever, and I would leave the town, never to be seen again. So I can't believe he's still the mayor in Jaws 2. Like, it blows my mind. That man has some resilience, because I'd never show my face again.
I would bury myself in the sand. So we get the paperwork for Quinn to come in and save the day, be our hero, and cut to Brody and Hooper going to tell Quint the good news. Like, we need you to help us out. We need all of your advice. And we get to see Quint's sort of his digs, really. He's just chilling in his cabin or whatever that is, something on the water, and he's got shark teeth all along the wall. He's a true fisherman. He is the real deal. And I'm sold already. He's drinking on the job. He's taking shots. He's making jokes. And this is a good moment because it really sets up the dynamic for the rest of the movie, which is pretty much like, I'm head honcho. Like, this is my boat. This is what we're going to do. So he's talking about his demands for the trip. He's like, I'm going to need some apricot brandy. I'm going to need these tools. He's like,
the essentials only. Yeah.
Essentials only. And this is the point where they say, like, you know, this is a great white shark we're talking about. This isn't like anything maybe you've ever seen. And they're going back and forth. There's a moment with Quint and Hopper where he says, like, goes up to him. He's like, he doesn't believe in the fact that these two people are going along with him on the trip. So he's like kind of testing them in the moment. He's like, passes a rope to Hopper and says, tie me a sheep shank. He says, you didn't say how short you wanted it. He said, give me your hands. He's looking at his hands. He says, you got these city hands. You've been counting money all of your life. You don't know what you're going to be doing out there. He's telling him that he's not rough around the edges enough, pretty much.
And to be fair, you know, he right. I think Hooper is, and I love him. You know how much of a crush I have on him, that he has such an air about him. It's not even like money. It's like he has a very pretentious air about him. Like he knows best, and he knows about the sharks, and he knows what he's doing, Mr. Marine Biology, and nobody knows more than Quint. Quentin is the real deal. And so I can understand and completely see why they're clashing, because Hooper has such a different level of expertise than Quint. Quentin is like, man, it works with his hands. And Hooper has his fancy boat with its, it's a very different people. So, but I love this scene because I feel like he really embarrasses Hooper and makes him feel like a piece of shit. Big time.
I mean, he's like, if you're going to be on my boat, we got roles to play, and I'm head honcho. So they're going over all the tools. They're bringing the cage on the boat, the shark cage. Ellen is preparing Brody for the trip. Did you pack your Dramamine? Asking if he's got his extra pair of glasses. She says, what am I going to tell the kids? And he said, tell them I'm going fishing. Love it. Iconic. Just setting up the entire end of the movie. She's beside herself. We see some acting gold from Ellen in this moment, and Quint is reciting limericks or some shit as they set sail. He's going over the,
Did you notice her run? Like when she runs away, it is the most like. It reminds me a lot of like Nev Campbell's run in Scream. Like I don't think there's a way to gracefully do that. So,
my God, give it to her. She probably started the whole fucking run, which plays out in horror movies across the land. I mean, it's so good. It's so fraught, and
it's such a short distance that she has to run. It couldn't be less necessary to run.
Let me full sprint this, Dr. Carr.
Oh,
wow.
It wasn't her decision. Hey, I think she gave a good performance there. And what else could she do there?
She really gave my husband, who doesn't like the water, is going out on a boat with a drunken sailor and some scientist. And my sons need a father, is what she's thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the boat sets sail to go catch a great white shark. And this is the last 56 minutes we're on the boat with these boys. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you this. It is a full-on fucking ride for the last 56 minutes. So much character development, so many good moments. So we start off, we're in the open sea. We got the boys putting out chum. We're drinking beers. We're crushing cans. And then we get to this point where it's just like a fishing line and Quint and like silence. And you hear the clicking of the fishing lure, just like stop and then just like slowly click. So Quinn just starts strapping in. He gets in the seat. He pulls the straps over his shoulder. And he's like buckling down. He's like, if this is what we got here, like I'm ready to reel this sucker in. And the next 10 minutes, we're pulling in the line from the shark. It's so intense. Everything is happening all at the same time. We're swinging back and forth with Quint in the boat. And he yells at Hooper to reverse the boat because he's like, we got something on the line. Like, you have to reverse it. And then it's all about like Quint and the shark back and forth. Did the shark go under? So he asked the boys to help. They're both pulling up the fishing line and realize that he bit through the wire, right?
Mm-hmm. He bites through the wire. And that's the kind of the moment, because this whole time Hooper has been like, it's not a shark. It's not a shark. He's been like kind of goading Quint. And then that when it bites through the wire, he's like, can a fish do this? Like, can like a small swallow do this? Like, this was a shark, you dummy. And Hooper's like, like, it's like very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not bratty, but like, God, he's such a baby. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I have such a crush on him. He's very annoying in this last, that like maybe like the last half of the movie. Like, he's very haughty and like, I know more. They don't.
Yeah. I also heard that the two actors weren't getting along on set.
Like Richard Dreyfuss and
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. And so I think that sort of like played into their characters as well because they were both going at it. So he's essentially like, this fucker bit through the piano wire. We got to trick him to the surface and then we got to hook him. Brody is like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, we got to throw more chum out. We got to get him to the surface. So Brody's on the back of the boat. He's throwing chum from the bucket. He's like, motherfucker, he's got a cig in his mouth. And he's just he tosses out like 3 handfuls of like fish guts, and Jaws comes to the surface, baby.
Dun-it.
Dun.
Like that, I love that scene so much. I mean, it's so ununique of me to say that's maybe my favorite scene in the movie, but that's like the first, I feel like, full, even though we do see it during the scene with the man in the boat, but I feel like this is like his big like debut. Here I am. Like I think that's just the best scene in the whole movie.
It's incredible to see that massive shark head just so close. And he backs away and spits his iconic line. He says, "You're going to need a bigger boat."
Did you know that was improvised?
Was it?
Yeah, he just came up with that. I have no idea how and no idea why, but that was all Roy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. So he says that. Hooper says, that's a 20-footer. Quinn says 25, 3 tons. And this shark is circling the boat. And Hoop is taking pictures of the shark in the water. He is geeking out. He's seen sharks all of his life. And he's telling Brody to get to the edge of the boat so he can get him in there for scale to see how large it is. It's just a really funny moment. I will say there are 2 moments where in like these past few scenes where they're like scaling the side of the boat, and we're seeing the directing of them like from the inside out, and they're like going across the windows, and I'm like, who the fuck is scaling a boat? Like I would fall like in the water. I would be.
Yeah, and it's excellent like cinematography directing that they chose to like clue in on that just so that you can see just how dangerous the situation they're in. They're on this little like, I mean, it's not a tugboat, it's a big boat, but it ain't a yacht. Everything could fall right off the side of that. Like to get to one side, you have to go out of the boat. And I think there's at one point, like one of them like kind of slips for a second. It's not a moat, but it's like, just like, it's slippery. It's wet. Like it's not the easiest of voyages that they are on. Not in the slightest.
No way, Jose.
Mm-mm.
That's what I say.
Mm-hmm.
So Quint gets his gun out. We got to attach these barrels. He got a harpoon on the end of that gun, and Hoop is tying the barrels so that he can shoot them essentially into the body of the beast, and so that we can attach these barrels. And he manages to, in the nick of time, get the rope tied off, and they shoot the fin, and the barrel goes in the water. So this barrel is obviously filled with air, so it acts as like a buoy because it's connected to the shark, and the shark can't go under too deep because it rushes to the surface. And so now we're playing the waiting game. We got to wait for the barrel to come up, the sun starts to go down, and they wait till nighttime, and still nothing. So
can I just say, how do they know that it's the shark? This really bugs me. This has always kind of bugged me. Because it's like a big ocean, and I know it's the movie, and this isn't worth poking, but I'm just like, what if that was just a shark? It's like the poor tiger shark that they kill, that those tugboat men kill. It's like, what? Maybe it's just a shark. I will say it probably is the shark, but do we know? I don't think we really do. And it's always bugged me because they really go after it. And like, I think later on, there are some moments where you're like, all right, it's probably the shark. It's most likely the shark. But do we know? We don't know.
Can you imagine if it wasn't?
Yes, I can. It's not the only shark in the ocean. we can't be sure that it's him. And so I just want to point it out. He could be a totally innocent shark, and they are coming after him full speed ahead. So regardless, continue.
Could have
Just
been
point that out.
could have been a school of sharks for all we know. But you know what? I'm gonna choose to believe my main man Quint at this point. He knows that this fucker's big as hell, and he knows that that mouth that Brody saw is big enough to eat this boat. So I think it's a main contender.
Mm-hmm. Most likely.
Okay, so we don't see nothing. We're going into nighttime. They're in the hull of the boat and they're shooting the shit at this point. They're like, we ain't seen nothing. We're going to have a good time. And they start bonding over their scars. And it's the biggest set of masculinity I've ever seen in this moment. It is, you know, one's talking about, oh, this one got me with a stingray through my wetsuit. The other one says, I got this one in an arm wrestling contest. And then we go to a bull shark, and then we go through Thrasher, which is a shark tail.
Mm-hmm.
All of it is really hot to me. But and then Hoop says, you see this right here, and he pulls down his shirt. And Brody says, you're wearing a sweater, which is meaning his chest hair is a sweater. Like I said, it's all hot to me. But anyway, Hoop says she broke my heart as a joke, and they all start laughing. And then Brody asks Quint about his one scar, but what's that one right there? And then they make a joke about his mother. He said he got a tattoo, but that it was removed. Quint then references the Hiroshima bomb and when he was on the USS Indianapolis, and it gets real serious. In true Quint fashion, he goes right back into his farewell and adieu song, which he was saying before, which, you know, shows just like his character is built up to be this way. And he's like showing a little bit of vulnerability here and telling the lads about his war stories and all this stuff and like very serious about it. So I thought it was like kind of special and unique for like the head honcho vibe of it all. And then to be like very subdued and like care for one another, which doesn't always happen with men.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth? When I watched that Jaws documentary, they interviewed a few people that were on the USS Indianapolis, and they talked about how much it meant to them and how he described it so accurately and how scary it was and how seriously, is it Robert Shaw?
Yes.
Yeah, how seriously he took it. And it like, I don't think I'd seen the movie since I watched that documentary. And after watching it and then watching it back this time, like I felt like it was a lot more meaningful. It's a very heartfelt moment from him, for sure.
Yeah. And then right into song. Show me the way to go home. I love it.
Yeah.
So there's some rumbling, and Quint starts to notice something's wrong, something's off, and the shark hits the boat. Electricity knocks out. They're all slipping and sliding along the side. They got their guns out, and somehow it's daylight. So this is like overnight, I'm guessing. And they're trying to fix the boat after this hit, and the barrel pops up. Brody says he's going to make a phone call, and Quinn destroys the radio.
Very uncool, Quint. I don't know if that was necessary.
Quint takes a bat to that radio, and the reaction of Brody is just, I don't even remember what he says, but it's just very like, what the fuck? We get the heroic music playing again, and they start chasing him, putting more barrels, more bullets. They tie him to the boat.
Well, and that's why when I think in my notes, I was like, big mistake. Why are they tying these things to the boat? Because they're clearly underestimating the strength of this shark. It tears up that boat. They're about to fucking sink.
Honestly, that's why my notes get so like intense, because the scenes are so intense. It is
Yeah.
like tied to boat, eating way through the shoots in the mouth. Like they're shooting the fin, they're shooting the body at these points.
Right.
They shoot him in the mouth because he's coming up, and they almost get taken out by the barrels as
Right.
he's dragging the boat, because they're trying to essentially tie him to those little clippies in the back. I forget what
So
they're
they can
called.
just like take him in, which again, I thought there was just such an interesting plan when they could have just shot, like killed him there.
True, like captain mentality. Like, I'm going down with the ship. Like, I set
Yeah.
this plan out. He's very stubborn. He had a vision, and he's going to follow through on it. And he doesn't
Yeah.
want any help from anyone. Clearly, he's telling lies to the people back home. And he's like, "Yeah, we ain't seen nothing. Like,
Right.
we're going to show up with this boat, and it's going to be, we're going to get all the notoriety."
Right.
So they have to cut the barrels from the boat at one point. So with 3 barrels into the shark, he says he's not going to last for 3 barrels. And we're starting to see a little bit like Quint hasn't seen a fish this big.
Mm-mm.
He has seen some big fish, but this is something unlike he's ever saw. And they're pumping water out of the boat, because at this point, you remember the shark hit the boat at some point, and so they're taking on water, and the shark starts following them because they're trying to bring him to the more shallow section, and Quint is ready to break the engine at this point.
Yeah.
It is that true, like, go down with the ship moment. And they're taking on more water, and the engine is just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So the engine goes kaput, and this is where he looks out the life vests for the first time ever.
It's like very silent. Like it's like all of them are coming to the realization that they will most likely die out here unless they come up with something like Hooper. I think the most, like they keep cutting to him and just like it's not even panic. It's like understanding and then like acceptance of like the situation that they're in. And it doesn't seem like Quentin really feels the same fear, but he knows he still understands the situation just the same, and that's when he like hands them those life vets, and it's like, uh-oh.
I think we start to see like the problem solving of each character, and we tried to do plan A and that failed. So now we're at plan maybe like C, D, E at this point, and like the boat at this point is pretty like 45% underwater. And they start to get the cage together so that Hooper can stick nitrate into the eye or the mouth of the shark.
Do we ever figure out what the nitrate is supposed to do?
I think it's like a lethal dose of something to like either subdue it or like knock it out.
But and I kind of assume that must be what it is, but also it's like they've shot at this shark a lot. And I think this shark is not indestructible, but kind of. It doesn't seem like the normal things are going to kill it, because I don't know if we got to the scene where like I think we have that Chief Brody like shoots it like 5 times with a handgun, and he's got those harpoons in him with the barrels, and he's not slowing down. And so I have a hard time believing that this like the liquid is gonna really take him down. And so for Hooper to come up with this idea of getting in the cage, and granted Quint is like I don't know if it's Quint or Brody, it's like, you think that's a good idea? And he's like, do you have a better one? And I think we all stay on the boat and we try to shoot it. I don't know. I think it was a really far-fetched, dangerous plan. But kudos to him for trying to come up with a solution, a creative solution. That cage don't look sound. There's a lot of big holes in that cage, like a big one. Like it is not super secure looking.
For me, I wouldn't do that, but like, would I have faith in some of these characters and like believability? I think I would. But you're right. As an audience, like, is this the last plan we have? Is like,
right.
we're going to try it because the boat is sinking. And I'm like, I'm not fucking going in this water, but essentially, eventually, it's going to go under at some point. Like everything's broken and we're taking on water. So I would be like, and especially if I were like Brody, I'd be like, it ain't me. All right, we'll send you down. We'll send you down. This cage moment though is really fucking fire. So Quint's preparing him in the wetsuit, Dreyfus in a wetsuit, swoon. So we're underwater now. We're filming and we're just vibing and we're preparing. He's uncorking this gun, ready to like shoot it somewhere, and then out of nowhere, smack. The shark knocks a wedge in the cage and he drops his gun to the shallow floor. There it goes. We just see the thing dive right down to the floor. And he's trying to eat Hooper through this cage. Cage is getting all mangled. He's going bite after bite, trying to like get in there. He's stabbing him through the cage, trying literally everything. I will point out though too that all these knives probably wouldn't break like a shark's skin.
Yeah, I think it was like a pocket knife. I don't think that was going to stab a shark. I'm glad he had it though. I'm glad he had something, but
seriously, with sharks, you got to go for the eye. Then that fucker ain't gonna see you.
Really?
That's like the soft spot. I mean, like
I was going to say, they always say when you're attacked by a shark to punch him in the nose.
Oh,
so it's like something. There's like a lot of, I don't know if there's a lot of nerve endings there. It like messes with them a lot. They're like, their equilibrium.
I couldn't say what I would do if I were down there, but
I wouldn't have gone down there, man.
Well,
that's different. But it ends up working out for him.
Yeah, he's clicking on the top of the cage. I mean, he really has no place to go because the shark is tearing bars off of this fucking cage. And so he pops out the top and he goes under and you see him swimming to the floor, which is a good thing that they're in shallow water now, or, shallower water.
Yeah.
So that he's got his air tank and maybe he can wait this shit out. But I also heard in the book that his character dies.
What?
Yeah.
In this moment?
In this moment.
Well, you know what? I bet I was going to say, well, fuck that book. I'm not reading the book. But then I'm like, you know what? He hooked up with Brody's wife in the book. He's probably a dick in the book. And it was probably his time.
I'd probably like him more in the book.
He's a lot spicier in the book. That is for sure. Just kidding.
So anyway, Hooper gets to the bottom and we don't see anything after this point. The shark completely destroys the cage. So Brody and Quint get the cage up because it's all been trashed and nothing's in the cage. So they're thinking like homeboy's down. And what even happens? The shark literally just comes at the boat and like hops on top.
Hey, I'm up here with y'all. Yeah, so because at this point the boat is like half underwater, it's down, and so he's able to kind of swim up on it. Like they're half underwater at this point. They're slipping around the boat. I think also because of the weight of the shark, like the boat is really tipped up, and so they're not able to stand upright at this point.
They're trying to get their bearings. It happens so quick, and it just happens that Quint is before Brody and they start tipping and he's slipping. And there's a moment where he is like sliding down the deck of the boat and Brody grabs his hand and it slips pretty easily. And he goes down and he's foot to face with this shark, Quint is. And he's trying to kick, he's screaming, he's trying to do everything that he possibly can. And the shark nabs his first crunch on his leg, and he screams in agony.
Blood comes out of his mouth. The shark is like taking him from side to side. He's screaming in pain,
Yeah. He slashes him around and
I'm
like,
thinking of all of the people we could have seen the whole enchilada for. I didn't want to see him. You know, I would have taken Chrissy. I would have honestly, I may have taken Alex Kittner or the creepy man in the boat. I would have taken just about anybody.
would we have rather seen the dog death?
No.
Okay.
No, not Pippin.
No.
Pippin. Not Pippin. But
Not
no.
Pippin.
But I mean, it's like Pippin and then Quint. That was really heart-wrenching because you just really built up a soft spot for that guy, even though he had such a hard edge about him.
Yeah.
I just
So slowly we're seeing him like enter the shark's mouth, and then it's just one final crunch on his like abdomen and blood's everywhere. And we see the shark just slowly pull him under the water. It's just a lifeless.
Yum, 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 yum. I'll be back. Yeah. Very sad.
Holy shit. That was the most intense moment of the film for me. It's like what gives this like a horror rating, you know, like it's so intense, it's so terrifying. It's like I don't want to go back in the water ever again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you said, with all the other ones, it's not illusion, but you just don't get the full visual that we got here. And like, oof, it's hard to unsee that.
So we're down to our main character,
Brody.
He's our final guy, not our final girl. And the boat is even more underwater at this point, and the shark breaks through the window of the side.
Isn't he full? Shouldn't he? That doesn't have a tummy ache. I just like that's where I felt like, why doesn't he take a break? Like this is when I literally wrote, okay, this may be the shark because he is clearly he has revenge on his mind, vendetta, V for Vendetta. He is coming after them. He wants no survivors. This isn't a normal shark. A normal shark would be like, okay, I'm full. You know, let me go take a nap. This guy was like, all right, I got that one. Let me take down this one too. Like, we didn't even get a break from him after killing. Like, not even really a moment passed for him to digest that. That was a big man.
I don't know if I agree. I'm because at this point, listen, it's dinner time for me. I'm thinking like I had a snack earlier. If I just had a Quint snack, and then who knows if I had a Hooper snack.
Quint snack? That's Thanksgiving. You just had Thanksgiving. That's not the same thing at all. He is not a kudos bar. He is a full sandwich.
And honestly, out of the fish I be eating on the water, and like I get a couple chums here and there, and then I get one really good taste, and then I'm like, humans probably taste real good to them.
I told you, I read NPR said no, they don't like us. They don't like the taste of us. They only eat us like when it's like they're just moving around. Oh, what's that? Oh, okay, I'll eat it. Like they don't really like us. We don't taste groovy to them. Not like fish or their normal food of choice. They're not enjoying us. So if you think about it in those terms, he just ate a big giant thing that he doesn't really even like. He was doing that for revenge. He was doing that for no other purpose, I think, because otherwise that'd be like, eating a big thing, big giant bowl of like broccoli. Yeah. You don't like spaghetti? I was going to say, I think it's something you don't like something that doesn't really taste good to you,
I love broccoli.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know why I said that. I was trying to think of like a unpopular dish. Mm-hmm. Everybody has it, so it would be like eating a giant bowl of something you hate and then going after another bowl of something you hate, Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
Mm-hmm. So he breaks into the window.
And Brody, at this point, finds an air canister and shoves it into his mouth.
Brilliant.
So the shark that's reminiscent of something that he would like as a snack, and takes the canister instead of Roy Schneider. And now we're 75% underwater. He just saw this guy get eaten, and he's climbing to the highest point of this fucking boat, and he's ready for, his end, essentially. So he's like, I gotta do whatever I can at this point. And can I just mention, and when we talked about the guns earlier, is in the 1970s, they probably didn't have some like hardcore something or other for a giant shark like this, because in today's world, we would have had like a bazooka, a grenade
yeah.
launcher, a something, and he was shooting at that shark earlier with a handgun. Well, guess what? He's got the same fucking handgun haltered to his belt, and he's getting to the top. The ship is going down, and we're at the water's edge at this point, and the shark is coming up to get his last meal. And he's swimming up along the surface. He's got that air canister in his mouth, and Brody says, "Smile, you son of a..." And the whole shark just explodes because he did not hit one shot earlier, but this one he got on point right at the air canister, right into the shark's mouth. It explodes everywhere.
And it's epic.
It is epic. It is gratifying. The joy of Brody's face in this moment is just like probably better than an orgasm. He is just lost noodle, pieces of fish everywhere. The birds are coming to clean it up off the top of the water. It's just a whole fucking mess.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And it's perfect for the audience to be like relieved, and also for him in this moment to like act out the relief. It's special.
Very. And then old Richard Dreyfuss, I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna give up. I'm almost stop. Keep on surviving. He was hiding under a rock under water that whole time.
Which I also identify with. I would have been fucking hiding wherever I possibly could. Out of harm's way, I say.
Very nice rhyme. Well, that's I love this when he comes over to him and you can see the like relief on Brody's face, like, oh, you made it. And then they just start like giggling and like laughing with one another. Like, oh, that was wild. Like, we survived. Like just like so many emotions, probably like relief and like disbelief. And he asks about Quint and Brody just kind of like shakes his head like, nah.
Now, if they would have made out in this moment, it would have been a true gem.
A major plot twist. Major plot twist. But
some would say if you're riding that high, you just killed a shark, and your best friend comes up and you're like, we made it together. Let's.
It could have been a moment.
Only the gays will know. But I digress. We essentially go to credits after that.
They grab some like barrels or something and they swim to the shore. Credits roll. They made it.
I did write here that, and I don't know how percentage-wise I feel about this, but I wish we could have had some sort of ending that was a little bit more than just credits after that. But it's mainly perfect. It's like 95% iconography.
Like, what more would you have wanted other than them kissing? Which is obviously a huge loss on their end. Like, they missed.
That's just my selfish wish, but no, I liken back to like the Goonies ending, where just like we see the shit, we have like the there's like a tied up bow at the end, and it's just like everybody's safe. So like if he would have got back to shore and like Ellen and the boys and like some sort of like concrete moment where it like solidified that like we're back with our family, like some sort of like
Ellen already had the perfect exit with that run. We can't bring her back in. She's done. That would just ruin that. So
it's very true. But I selfishly just wanted like the 5% extra.
A prettier ending.
But honestly, Honestly, I'm okay with the credits. Like, I'm not gonna be butthurt about that because, as you know, we did do Rosemary's Baby, and you'll have to listen to that. Here's my reaction. But I'm just saying, like, I was satisfied, and
You
maybe I
right.
just wanted a little snack
A
at
little
the
bit
end,
more. A little bit more. Yeah, I can see that.
just like the shark. Wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, you always want more. Maybe that's what Jaws 2 is for. You know what I'm saying? Did you
Yeah.
watch that piece
Uh,
of artistry?
uh, did I watch that? I think Jaws 2 is my favorite of all of them.
I never saw Jaws 2. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Corinne!
You know what? I started it. I will admit I started it and then I was like, no. But I did look into it.
Corinne,
I just didn't finish it.
I'm
Is it
gonna tell
really
you
that
right.
good?
I'm gonna tell you right now. You can edit this out. I don't care. Jaws 2 is the best out of all of them.
Better than the first Jaws.
Better than the first. Put me
That's
on
a
record.
big statement. I ain't editing that out. I want the whole world to know what you just said.
The whole world should know. This is one of those moments where, somebody says like, "Oh, the sequel. What's one of those movies where the sequel is better than the original?" This is that moment.
I think you're the only person that thinks that about this. That's like a Godfather 2 thing, or
No. Nope.
I can't think of another movie where the second one is better. I really like Scream 2 a lot, but it's not better.
It's not better than the
It's
first
not
one.
better than the original.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Jaws 2 is better than the original.
Because the first Jaws did so well. It's like one of the highest grossing movies. I don't know if it was the highest grossing movie. I'm gonna look that up. Hold on. So it's the first movie to gross over 100 million at the box office. It was a huge fucking success. I imagine Jaws 2 probably had no budget and was like, poo, balls to the wall. And I imagine it would be good. I've just never heard that it was good until this moment with you right now. So is Hooper in it? Richard Dreyfuss isn't in it.
I don't think so.
Yeah. He's above it. I read, it was in that Jaws documentary. It took a lot for him to agree to do this movie. It was not like a yes. He definitely wasn't the first choice for that role. But Steven Spielberg basically had to keep coming back to him and keep coming back to him. And Richard Dreyfuss was like, all right, I guess. And it, of course, put him on the map. But I'm so glad they chose him. Can you imagine how boring it would have been without his beauty? You know?
Oh. Well, we have a little fun rating system at Stoli Doli Scaries. And we like to rate our movies on a scale of 0 to 5. And this is how many drinks it would take you to watch this film. And for me, Jaws would be a 0. And a 0 is the best that you can get because I don't need to be drunk to watch this film. It is so good by itself.
Superb. I do concur with you. It is a 0 for me as well. Not even a sip is necessary to enjoy this flick. Top notch.
Well, listen, thank you everyone for listening to our episode. It's truly fun for us to hang out and talk about our thoughts watching these wonderful films. Tune in next time to listen to us talk about more of them. Until then, stay out of the water. We're too old for TikTok, so visit us on Instagram at Stoli Doli Scaries for any new updates.